From coming across a potentially massive gold vein to the challenges of making their way down to it, here is how Parker Schnabel and his team hit a $75 million gold vein in a collapsed Yukon shaft. As ever, the search for gold persists in the Yukon and pretty much every other place on the planet where there is gold. Forever searching for gold, the likes of Parker Schnabel and Tony Beats lead their mining crew out to some of these gold-fertile regions, hoping to extract all the valuable gold from the earth. That way they can justify the costs of going out there before enriching themselves and their families. Apparently, the Widow's Cut was a shaft that was too dangerous to dive into. It was believed to be too deep to dive into, and to be honest, this belief didn't seem to be so unfounded. First of all, it's believed that the cut was covered in permafrost. This means that the ground all the way down was frozen stiff. This made any attempts to excavate it too risky, as it could cause massive chunks of ice and rocks to collapse into any excavation site that may be built in a bid to get to the rich gold vein located in the shaft. It's frozen stiff. Then there was the fact that there was a huge potential of flooding. Any kind of flooding had the potential to compromise the stability of the pipes. To make matters worse, it could put their mining equipment at risk of damage. With all these factors coming into play, Parker and his entire crew were forced to realize that if they were going to get their hands on the gold in this mine, they would have to go down what was essentially a death trap. Considering the magnitude of this challenge, it wouldn't have surprised many viewers if Parker and his crew decided that this mine wasn't for them. Sure, there was a ton of gold for them to extract down there, but surely it wasn't worth the risk. The problem with this logic is that Parker didn't think that way. In fact, rather than seeing the risk, it's almost as though Parker just saw another challenge. Perhaps even more importantly, Parker saw this as a challenge that he was not going to run away from. No, they were going to make their way down the shaft. That said, the acceptance of a challenge doesn't make that challenge any easier. What could make it easier could be the modern-day tech that Parker and his crew had at their disposal. Aside from their tractors and their slowers, they had the tools to survey the area, and that is exactly what they did. Just coming to talk to you about this exact problem. It's called permafrost for a reason, right? Because it's permanently frozen. I mean, it would help us a lot if it was more than like 35 degrees for at least like 4 hours. We need some warm weather. After all, if they knew the best way to make their way down the mine, then they could very well achieve success when it comes to excavating this mine for all the gold that it's worth. With that in mind, the boys got their state-of-the-art LiDAR out with this and some drone mapping techniques. They surveyed the entire area to see if they could find any safe way down there. Indeed, this may be the best option for them, because the next thing that was on their mind was to dig a new way down there, and with all the challenges that we mentioned earlier, that could prove to be too dangerous for them to embark on. Sure, they want to get all the gold that's down there, but at what cost? Furthermore, the team had to work quickly, because the more time they spent looking for how to get down there, the more their resources were being used up for these endeavors that didn't actually involve the extraction of gold from this mine. If they didn't want to finish this season at a loss, they had to make sure they were successful with this gold mining project at the Widow's Cut. Thankfully, they were able to pair their LiDAR with drone mapping. Whoever came up with the combination of these tools must be a genius, because this led to a breakthrough that many miners had been trying to achieve since the 1980s. Well, thanks to the LiDAR and the drones, the team were able to find a way down that shaft, this collapsed vertical shaft that could help them get them down there. Their measurements told them that, although it had been hidden under an overgrowth that was several decades old, the collapsed shaft was more than 40 meters deep. Well, with some good work, this collapsed shaft would be used to get the gold out of this deep shaft. After some work, the team realized that it was best for them to do what they can to stabilize the collapsed shaft. Thanks to some reinforced steel, Parker and his men were able to create a safe enough way to make their way down that formerly collapsed shaft. You can imagine how reinvigorated these miners were now that they had a safe way to make their way down to the gold within the mine. It didn't take long for them to make their way through an untouched gold vein that had the potential to give their season a much-needed boost. The untouched quartz-rich gold vein was so neat that Parker's geologists described the work as being the cleanest and richest natural deposit. Once the team was done admiring the gold vein that they had found, they quickly got to work. After all, they didn't want to waste too much time down there. Other miners could hear of this gold vein and decide to get some for themselves. With such a mindset, the team worked endlessly. This proved to be effective because it only took them a little over 72 hours to extract more than 4,000 ounces of gold from this rich gold vein. This proved to be a powerful experience for the team. After extracting all that gold, they found that it was worth more than $10 million. That should cover all the costs for things like diesel and transportation for most of the season and then some. This was great for the team, especially as this was just the beginning for Parker, his team, and this gold-rich mine. This is because after some examination of the gold from the vein, they realized that said vein was a lot larger than they initially thought. In fact, they figured it actually extended another 2 km underground. After some calculation, the team figured that they could get another $75 million from this gold vein. If they could pull this off, this could be great news for Parker and his team. This could mean that the team was going to have a successful season while they had their work cut out for them. Not only would they have to keep working hard on this gold vein, if they were going to get their hands on the gold, they would have to fight off the competitors who'd come running after hearing about this quartz-rich gold vein. Thanks to the rapid rate at which the news of this gold mine spread, everyone from other miners to the government wanted to see this vein for themselves. Thankfully, Parker had the sense to hold the claim for himself and his team. No way he was going to share this place with others. To him, this could very well be the discovery that makes everything before this look small. Whatever the case may be, we all know we are watching keenly as Parker and his team go to work. Whether Parker's success was due to luck or instinct, there is every chance that Parker may have just made the biggest Yukon gold strike of the 21st century and may have just had their most successful season yet from coming across a potentially massive gold vein to the challenges of making their way down to it. Here is how Parker Schnabel and his team hit a $75 million gold vein in a collapsed Yukon shaft left.